Hello, dear students. I welcome you all to the seventh lecture of Novel Drug Delivery System. So, now, my dear student, you must be familiar with the basic concepts and the terminologies like what is sustained release formulations, what are control release formulations. So, we have discussed them in great detail in the previous lectures. Now you might have also understood that what are the various factors which affect the designing of these novel drug delivery systems, whether it be pharmacokinetic factors or the dynamic factors. So our today's discussion will be based on if we need to develop a particular novel drug delivery system, or rather I should say control release or sustained release drug delivery system. So what is the basically the drug selection criteria, means what or which type of drug are considered as poor candidates for developing a sustained release formulation, and what type of drug candidates are basically a suitable selection for developing a sustained or control release formulations. So first we will be seeing the various parameters based on physiochemical, means what are those physiochemical aspects which we will be keeping in mind while selecting a suitable drug candidate, whether it formulation will be advocated or it will not be advocated, or whether the formulation development of this particular drug will be beneficial. So this is the basic gist of today's lecture. We will also be covering the pharmacokinetic aspects, means the biological half life, okay, that is the ADME. We will be covering those aspects as well because without them we will not be able to understand the proper drug selection criteria for sustained release or the control release. So there might be some cases that the drug will not be benefited if we formulate the sustained release or control release because of its inherited properties. So what we will be trying to do, we will be trying some different alternative routes of administration, or we should be using some different type of control release formulation or the targeted release formulation. Let take for example the transdermal patches, the ocular drug delivery system, or nasopulmonary drug delivery system. So these are alternative approaches apart from the oral formulations. So we can use them as well, but the judicious selection is totally dependent on the understanding of the various parameters. And finally, I will be showcasing some marketed products with their different characteristic, so you will be getting a more in-depth understanding regarding how we select a suitable drug for developing a sustained or the control release formulation. So let us move ahead one by one. So I have just arranged some suitable parameters, rather I should say unsuitable parameters, which you should be considering while developing a sustained release formulation. Means all these parameters basically are unsuitable if we keep them in mind. So let us speak one by one. So if the biological half-life of the drug is less than 2 hours, so it does not make any sense to make the sustained release formulation for such compounds. So the question arises why? Because if you can imagine over here, the biological half-life is so much less that the amount which will be required to accommodate in a single formulation will be so much high, that is ultimately its dose will be so much high that it will not be beneficial or it will not be patient acceptable. So we should keep in mind while designing a formulation, whether in sustained or control release, that the biological half-life should not be less than 2 hours. So as the lesser limit is less than 2 hours, or it is around 2 hours, the higher limit is around 10 hours. So if the formulation or a particular drug is by itself is maintaining biological half life of more than 10 hours, or we can say 24 hours, so it makes another no sense that its formulation will be advisable as sustained release formulation. The reason being, you can see over here that the drug is by its own biologically very much sustaining in the blood plasma levels, so it makes no sense to formulate those drugs in the form of sustained release formulations. One topic we have also discussed in our pharmacodynamic discussion, that those drugs which are very much potent and they exhibit the narrow therapeutic indices, means the margin of safety is very much low. So you can imagine, if a condition persists of dose dumping, means whether the whole amount of loading and maintenance dose is delivered at a particular moment of time, or whether the drug is not released at any particular moment of time, so these candidate will be unsuitable for the formulation of sustained release dosage form. So remember always that those drugs which are having narrow therapeutic indices like digoxin are very much poor candidate for the designing of sustained release formulation. Similarly, as I mentioned with the case of biological half-life, those drugs which have inherited large dose requirement, so again it will be a tedious task to formulate them as the sustained release formulation. So first is the biological half-life. It should be less than 2 hours. It should not be less than 2 hours. It should not be more than 10 hours. Then we should also be means considering those candidates which are having large therapeutic indices, rather than choosing those drugs which are highly potent and exhibit narrow therapeutic indices. And similarly, we should be choosing those drug candidates whose dose requirement is very much less. Coming towards another pharmacokinetic aspect, this is the erratic absorption. Means we should be choosing particularly those drug candidates which are absorbed throughout the GIT. So any drug which shows throughout GIT absorption will be a suitable candidate for selecting the particular designing the sustained release formulation. But for those drugs which have site specific absorption will always be poor candidate for sustained release dosage form. So rather we should be thinking some targeted therapy for them, or we should be designing a delayed release formulation for them. Now another aspect which is of low solubility. So majority of the sustained release formulation are basically prepared to follow the diffusion process. So only that particular amount will be diffused which is soluble in the GI fluids. So this solubility, if it is very much low, it will again be a problem to design a sustained release formulation. So we must be choosing those candidates which have sufficient solubility in the biological medium, or rather we should first work upon the solubility. We should first work upon the optimization on the solubility, then we can go for the sustained release development. As well as another aspect is that we have discussed this concept of high first pass clearance. So all those drug candidates which undergo extensive first pass metabolism or gut wall metabolism are again unsuitable for designing sustained release formulation. The other or the better option for them will be to design a, or to choose rather to choose a alternative route like a transdermal or sublingual tablet or a parenteral route. But if we are delivering them through oral route only, so first we need to work upon how to bypass this first pass metabolism. So we can work upon that particular strategy first. so that its first pass metabolism can be inhibited, then we can only think of sustaining the drug level in the body. So now let me discuss the various physiochemical parameters which you should keep in mind while selecting a suitable candidate. So as I have already discussed the unsuitable parameters, so similarly we should be knowing what are those suitable parameters basically from the physiochemical perspective. So first, the thumb rule says that the molecular weight of the drug which you are using should be less than 1000 Daltons. So this is the thumb rule. Larger the molecular weight of the drug, it will be tedious to formulate them as sustained or control release formulation. So small molecules are better choice for sustaining the blood plasma levels. As well as I have mentioned this particular instance, that is of low solubility. So what should be the solubility? The drug should be soluble at least 0.1 milligram per ml in the entire pH range of the GIT. That is, it should not be soluble, it should not be the case that it is soluble in stomach but not soluble in the intestine. So it should be soluble throughout the GIT in this particular pH range, that is 1 to 7.8. So from the stomach we are going towards the colon. So this is the pH range in the colon. So it should be better absorbed if it can be solubilized in these conditions. As well as another aspect is of apparent partition coefficient. So neither the drug candidate which are hydrophilic, truly hydrophilic, nor those drug candidate which are highly lipophilic will be a good choice. Rather it should be a means somewhat around the higher side of the lipophilicity. So ये एक अच्छा ऑप्शन रहेगा basically. Coming towards the absorption mechanism, so all those candidates which basically absorbed by the mechanism of diffusion will be the best choice. So believe me, all those drugs which can directly absorbed into the blood stream by the movement from the higher region to the lower concentration region will be a suitable choice for designing the sustained release formulation. So it is basically dependent on the solubility as well. Okay, so now coming towards the general absorbability, as I told you, our formulation or the drug should be in of that particular category that it should be absorbed throughout the GIT. So it is basically linked with this pH base phenomena, means its solubility should not be affected either by the pH or by the enzyme. So all these parameters are basically interrelated. So you must be familiar with these concepts, because if you miss the understanding of any of these parameters, you will fail to achieve the desired therapeutic outcome. So let us go into depth the various pharmacokinetic parameters for drug selection. So as I told, what should be the elimination half-life of the drug candidate while developing a sustained release formulation? It should be preferably between 2 to 10 hours. Okay. Whereas if we talk about total clearance, so it should not be dose dependent. Means it should not be the case that on increasing the dose, the total clearance increases. So you must keep in mind while selecting the suitable drug candidate that it should be concentration or dose independent rather than it should be concentration dependent. So coming towards another aspect, that is volume of distribution. So here you can see I have written, the larger the volume of distribution and the MEC, the larger will be the required dose size. And when larger dose will be required, it will again cause serious problem, because the practicality will be loosed and we cannot accommodate such a large amount of dose in a single formulation. It will be difficult for a patient to swallow it. Similarly, the bioavailability is another aspect. We will be preferring those candidates which are rapidly absorbed from the stomach without going extensive first pass metabolism or being inhibited by the means expelled out by the various PGP like pumps that are the efflux pumps. So we should be targeting those drug candidates which are showing absolute bioavailability around 75%, not less than this. So this is another factor. Coming toward intrinsic absorption rate, so the intrinsic absorption rate must be greater, remember always, than the release rate of the drug from the formulation. So if the release rate will be high and the absorption rate will be low, the system will fail to gain access into the bloodstream. Whereas if the absorption rate will be high and the release rate is basically less, then it will ultimately deliver a suitable amount of drug according to our prerequisite conditions. Coming towards the CSS level or the therapeutic concentrations, so the lower the CSS and a smaller VD will be the preferred choice. So this is another aspect. So now let me take you to some marketed products, and here I have presented the various parameters which we are discussing. So you can see how beautifully we can see over here. So first take an example of morphine sulfate. It is a opioid analgesic and basically used in treating the severe pain post surgery or because of some cancerous tumor inflammation is there. So you can see the T half is around 2 hours, so it is the best choice, and it is absorption side is upper intestine. So though it is side specific, but we can develop the formulation for this particular candidate, and you can see the solubility is not an issue with this candidate, as well as it is on the hydrophilic category. Okay, so that is why we can develop the formulation, sustained release formulation for these candidates. Coming towards another oral hypoglycemic candidate, which is metformin hydrochloride. It is sell with the name of Glucom TSR. So it is having T half 6.2 hours. So it is the preferred choice. It is around 2 to 10 hours, which I mentioned earlier. So you can see it is again showing no solubility issue, and it is also a suitable candidate for sustaining the drug action. Another acutely used drug is diclofenac sodium. So morphine is for the acute condition, metformin is for chronic condition, that is for diabetes. Diclofenac is again for arthritic or some pain inflammation is there when we will using. So it is being sold with the name INEC TR. Other brands are also available. So it has the biological half-life of around 2 hours, and you can see why this is a suitable candidate, because it is absorbed throughout the GIT without any site specific absorption, and the log P value is again on the higher side, which is also beneficial for us. And you can see though it is less soluble, but it will be not in a very low condition. So it is again a good candidate for developing a sustained release formulation. Coming towards another type of drug, this is the clarithromycin, and you can see the T half over here. It is again 3 to 4 hours and have no site specific absorption rate over here, and the log P value is again on the higher side and no solubility issues. So based on these consideration, means when I will be deciding to develop a formulation that is sustained release of this candidate, so first I need to look upon these pharmacokinetic as well as dynamic factors. Then only I can decide whether the development of sustained release formulation or control release formulation will be beneficial or not. So let us take another example, that is of nifedipine. It is again used in the chronic medication case, that is in maintaining the blood pressure levels. So you can see the T half of this drug is around 2 hours, and it is absorbed throughout the GIT, means from the stomach to the colon, and log P is again neither purely hydrophilic nor towards higher lipophilicity, and has also means no issues in the solubility as well. So that is why it is being largely developed as sustained release formulation, because we need we will be requiring chronic administration of nifedipine to maintain the blood pressure level throughout the day. So for that we not be prescribing a patient 4 times a day. So it will be a suitable strategy to develop a sustained release formulation for this candidate. Coming toward another acutely administered particular drug, which is indomethacin. So it is again a drug from NSAID category, and you can see it is having T half of 4.5 hours. So we go for the development of sustained release, and it is again truly absorbed from the GIT and having log P value of 4.27 and no solubility issues as such. Now, a beautiful example of nitroglycerin I have put it over here, and here we have not developed the sustained release formulation for it. The reason being, you can see it is showing very less T half. It is not even in hours, it is around 1.5 to 7.5 minutes, and the log P is again in this particular category. So what will be the preferred choice? And this will be a suitable formulation, means we can only be using this in a emergency condition. So for developing them a sustained release or controlled release formulation makes no sense. So what we will be trying to do, we will be trying to develop a sublingual tablet so that the acute pain of angina can be overcome within a fraction of second. So you can see over here, it will be frequently absorbed from the sublingual route and will be providing prompt action. So I think, my dear student, you will be able to understand that for every drug we should not be developing the sustained or controlled release formulations. Rather, first we will be going into the pre-formulation studies. We should be understanding the various pharmacokinetic and dynamic factors. Then only we will be deciding whether their formulation will be beneficial as sustained release, controlled release, or we have to choose an alternative strategy, that is sublingual, transdermal, ocular, nasopulmonary. So we have to think upon it. Or if it is the problem like the solubility is such an issue, so we have to first work upon the solubility, then only we can go ahead with the formulation development. So I thank you all. I hope you will enjoy the lecture.